Please join me now in a spirit of meditation, prayer, or reflection as we deepen into our service and share the opening words for this morning. Witness to that place before words know how to say themselves, or thoughts have an inkling that they will be born. To that quiet place where the holy dwells, that place before knowing, stillness before form, where tears cannot stop, can find no ending, and crying out fills the sky. Also to that place where the earth first turns, and turning turns to beauty, and we stumble upon hope. Out of love, out of longing, you come. I invite you into that quiet place where the holy dwells, that place before knowing. I invite you into a small space of silence. So our speaker this morning is Angie. I think most of you know her. She's a member here. She's a local yoga instructor and a practitioner of mindfulness, and we'll turn it over to you.
So let's start with making our bodies comfortable. We'll start like a little yoga class here. So maybe uncross your legs, okay? Uncross your arms. Go ahead and close your eyes and just feel your body and get comfortable. Take a moment to go inside and start to feel your breath. Feel your inhale and your exhale. Inhaling, notice where you feel your breath. Exhaling, notice the breath leaving your body. Inhaling, feel the breath in your nostrils, lifting up your chest, filling up your belly. Exhale, feel the belly fall, the chest fall, the exhale through the nostrils. Your mind will naturally wander. Gently bring it back to the breath. Take another deep breath in. Feel that breath radiate through the body. Exhale, let it go. With one more breath, feel a little smile forming on your lips. Feel that smile radiating through the body. Exhale, let it go. Feel that radiate out your body. And feel that peace. And gently, when you're ready, open your eyes. So, thank you for joining me in a mindfulness exercise. There we go. You've completed your minute of mindfulness today. So, mindfulness has become very mainstream, right? We hear mindfulness everywhere, right? Mindful parenting, mindful teaching, mindful kids, mindful learning, mindful dog walking, right? It's everywhere, it's everything. Mindfulness for anxiety, mindfulness for depression, mindful eating, mindful drinking, right? So we're kind of bombarded with mindfulness, and mindfulness is having its heyday right now, right? It's everywhere, it's everything. And this is wonderful, right? It's being promoted as kind of a cure-all, right? That it's going to help us with everything, with our anxiety. Just go inside and be mindful. Okay. Take a breath. It's all going to be okay, right? And so we're following that. But is this modern mindfulness movement that's become everywhere and become all-encompassing, is that actually distracting us from true mindfulness? Is that causing us to become mindless in a way and to not really pay attention as we go deeper into just paying attention to our breath? Okay, so what is mindfulness? Let's define it a little bit. So mindfulness comes from the Buddhist teachings of meditation. It is one technique of meditation, to be mindful in the present moment, to be mindful with your breath, to be mindful with drinking your tea, to really savor it, to look at the tea, smell the tea, feel the tea, and to drink it, to not have your mind run away, correct? But with Buddhism also comes a certain ethics and a morality, and eventually leading us to enlightenment, to nirvana, right? To release all that is. Okay, it's a little philosophical, right? But that is where Buddhism is going, right? So that we have this ultimate release, right, from the things that bind us. And our modern mindfulness is, our mainstream mindfulness that's kind of being sold to us is just telling us, okay, go inside, take a breath, whatever's happening, come back to your breath. Be there with your breath, right? Be there with that cup of tea. And that's all you need. Find peace inside. The world around you might be crumbling, but you go inside and you take care of yourself, right? Take that breath. Oh, okay, good, right? Take another breath. Okay, good. We're mind training, right? And so maybe it's a misnomer to call it mindfulness, because mindfulness coming from a Buddhist tradition of being present and then coming to that final enlightenment, where mindfulness is just having you actually just pay attention. It's attention training, which is wonderful. We all need attention training, don't we? Right? Especially in our world, which is calling for our attention, pulling at our attention in every direction. We need attention training. And this is great. I'm a yoga teacher. I teach mindfulness. I teach how to gain attention, how to train your mind as our mind naturally wanders, how to bring it back to the breath, bring it back to a mantra, right? Bring it back to something and keep it there. Focus your mind. This is amazing. This is wonderful. We need this in our world. So we know that mindfulness training, it helps you with stress, it helps with anxiety, it helps focus, it helps you be more present, right? Might help you sleep. Okay? So this is great. This is wonderful. So I'm not trying to say that mindfulness, don't do it. I'm just questioning the mindfulness that is being sold to us, right? The mindfulness that's being marketed to us as, don't worry too much about the world crumbling around you, right? Take a breath and be mindful. Right? Is it encouraging us to be more passive and complacent, where we should actually maybe be more engaged, right? So personal stress also has societal causes, right? Poverty, overworking like a slave. Can any of us relate to that? Working more and more and more. Environmental destruction. Go inside, take a breath. It'll all be okay. Right? I don't know. It might pacify something for a moment. It might feel okay for a moment, but it's not where the problem really is. Right? We're not holding accountable the system, right? The system of capitalism, the system of colonization, the system of exploitation. We're not questioning it because we'll just go inside and take a breath that it's going to be okay. Yes, you're working 80 hours a week. Yes, you're working to maintain this life that you have to keep up with the rat race. Take a breath, it'll be okay. It's almost like it was designed by the corporations to keep us mindful, right? Like this is their plan. The more mindful you are, you kind of go inside, take a break, and you can work better. You can be a better employee. You can work harder. And so the problem isn't put on the system. The problem is put on our minds. It's your problem. You have anxiety? Well, you should really try mindfulness. That'll really help you. Right? Don't question the system that might be causing that anxiety. The fact that you're working 80 hours a week, let's say. So we're not challenging the system that's causing this distress, and we bring it onto ourselves. And we just keep functioning in the broken system. Don't ask too many questions, right? Don't ask too many questions. Just keep going. We have to keep going. And that's exactly what the system wants. It's exactly what the corporation wants. There's a term coined McMindfulness. Has anyone heard of this? Right? Yeah, so it's the same concept of mindfulness, the standardized mindfulness for everyone, right? Let's package it up. Here, you have mindfulness, and we can all have that feeling, and it's a feeling of somewhat nutrition, but it's not really satisfying, right? It's not long-term nutrition. It gives us something in the moment quick as we're maybe in trauma or in panic. So what we need is a truly revolutionary mindfulness. Something that would challenge the Western sense of entitlement to happiness, that doesn't take account of ethical conduct. Okay. How can we have Google executives flying to Davos, Switzerland for a mindfulness conference, most of them in private jets by themselves, maybe with their spouse, and arriving there to learn about mindfulness with a complete disregard, maybe even an ignorance, of the pollution, of the resources used to get there, and to have this wonderful mindfulness experience. And not only that, but with the entitled feeling of, well, I earned it. I deserve this. I work really hard and I make millions. I deserve to have a private jet to fly over there, to have a mindfulness conference. Right? Compare that to Greta Thunberg, right, the young activist from Sweden, who's 16 now, who started this climate movement, right? That on Friday, the world was protesting, millions of people around the world. I'm not sure any in Bismarck, but around the world they were protesting. And maybe in schools, I've heard that inside some of the schools, some of the kids did an action. But she, I would say mindfully, came from Europe to New York. She came from England to New York in a zero-emission sailboat. It took 2 weeks. It was not luxurious. I'm not sure it was even comfortable. The point was, she could do this. The point was, she needs to do this. This follows her morals of saving the climate. I'm sure she's popular enough. I'm sure she could have easily got a private jet and flown to New York from Stockholm in a matter of 9 hours. But she chose the harder path because it stands for what she believes in. And she'd be quite a hypocrite to not do that. So here is somebody who is mindful. She has a message for us of the environment and that we need to act now. And she's mindful in the way that she acts around it. Okay, so now we think of us, right? A natural thing that happens, we go to a coffee shop and, oh, I forgot my reusable cup. Oh, well, I'll just take theirs. Enjoy my coffee and, well, then toss it. Well, that was easy, right? So convenient, so easy. And do we take the time to think about where that cup came from? How many resources it took to make that cup? How much petroleum? What this number 2 plastic does to my body when I drink from it, the plastic that's inside, that it's lined with. Do I consider what's inside the cup? The coffee beans, the sun, the rain, the soil that it was grown in, the people that helped pick those coffee beans, the conditions that they work in, their living conditions, how much they get paid? Do I consider how many miles this coffee traveled to get to me? Do I consider all of the steps for that coffee to come to that coffee shop and all the people that work there and probably have to work 3 jobs in order to support themselves if they work in a coffee shop? And then do I consider, well, I can be mindful and have a sip. Do I consider what happens to that cup later? Am I mindful of where that cup goes, where it ends up? Maybe that cup is the tipping point at the landfill that causes the avalanche. So mindful, mindful, mindful. My mind is full. My mind is full, so full, and I'm being asked to fill it even more. Right? Our minds are full. There's no space anymore. What we need is a little more emptiness. What we need is space. Mindfulness creates connection. It can create a connection to your coffee cup and the coffee that's inside and all the people along the way and all the resources along the way. Yet, the mindfulness, this mindfulness movement is not asking us that. It's not asking us to be mindful of that. It's just asking us to enjoy the moment with our coffee. So paying attention creates connection. Yet we're full, and we're full of ourselves. We're full of that connection to ourselves. We're trying to look deeper and find more connection to us. My mindfulness. Right? Maybe we need to take the my out of the mindfulness. Maybe we need to take that, bring it more into an ourfulness, right? Our world. How does this affect our world? How does this affect our connections? This cup of coffee, right? My mindfulness with my self-care, retreating back more into myself rather than connecting more with community, connecting more with relationships, connecting with my environment. So I think we have a responsibility, right? We have a responsibility to be more present with what is rather than pursuing more stuff and being unmindful of where that stuff is going. We have a responsibility to nurture the planet, our resources, and our relationships. Notice how easy it is to let go of our relationships because we just don't have time. I have self-care. I need self-care. I need to take care of myself. Of course you do. But part of that is relationship. So those are some of my thoughts. I would love to hear some of your thoughts of how possibly we could take this idea of mindfulness and make it more radical, make it into activism rather than retreating back into ourselves. Yes?
Like considering all these things when you go and buy a cup of coffee is great, But if you do it too much, you'll completely lose your mind.
Of course.
And you sort of have to come to an acceptance that the only way to not destroy the planet is to go live in a cave somewhere.
True.
And I got to get to work, so I got to drive my car, which takes fossil fuels, and there's nothing I can do about it. So you just have to like accept that there is no moral purity, and that you're just and that we are all morally compromised in some way, and it's just something you have to accept in order to get through life. I don't know what else to say.
True.
I was just going to comment to that, that idea that we have to accept and we don't have a choice. You know, because Greta decided that she didn't have to accept getting in a plane or a car. But yeah, that's hard. You know, when I got back from the Netherlands, I was driving a bike only, and I thought it was absurd that everyone wasn't on a bike. But I was in a system of the Netherlands where they've set up their entire system so that you are rewarded if you ride a bike and you're punished if you drive a car. So everybody does it, and it's a no-brainer. If you go to school at the university I was at, if you wanted to drive a car, you'd pay extra fees. You'd have to park like a mile away. You'd sit in traffic forever. They have the roads set up so that you're going to be punished. And then it's super expensive on top of that. And gas prices, they don't subsidize to artificially lower gas like America does. We take the price of gasoline and artificially lower it by giving billions of dollars to Exxon and these giants every year. Europe had the opposite. They said, we're going to discourage fossil fuel usage by taxing it and artificially raising the price of gasoline and then subsidizing our society and creating a healthier world with our system change. So you drive a car, you're totally punished. If you ride the bike, you have all right of way. If you would ever get hit by a car, that car owner would be destroyed in court. All the roads are bike friendly. You'd go right to the university, and there's a ramp, we'd go under the building. So if it's raining, you just ride right under the building. They have locks ready for you, and you just grab the key. They have lockers for you to put all your bike stuff in. And it was just like luxury, like you pop out in a spa. And so all these people are in incredible shape. They've saved billions of dollars in health costs, having 20 million people that incredibly healthy. The grandma I lived with, who was 80 when I got there, I said, I need to get a bed frame for I was living in her attic. And she's like, yeah, I got the bed frame downstairs. And I was like, oh, no, let me get it. And she's like, no. She threw it over her shoulders, a steel bed frame. And the Dutch stairs are like 2 inches and they're straight up. It's like climbing a mountain. And she just right up the stairs. And I was looking at my grandma, who was in a wheelchair in North Dakota, or using a wheelchair in North Dakota, and same age, barely able to move,
If you never learn anything else in my class to take with you, I want you to learn this one thing. And I opened up my notebook and he goes, I want you to write this down. I want you to write this down. Moderation in all things, even moderation. Moderation in all things, even moderation. Even on this subject matter, if you can start by just using a recyclable plastic cup, if you can't. If you can remember it sometimes, and sometimes you can't. If you can ride your bike to work, sometimes if you can reduce trips. It's not all or nothing. That's part of the machine that we're programmed into, because this is corporate. This is a society of winners and losers. But at the end of the day, everybody, moderation in all things, even moderation.
We extinguish the flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. Go in peace.